Okay, Mazda, it's been a while since I've seen anything new from you guys, and here we are. I'm in the CX-70. This, to me, is a little bit perplexing, a little bit intriguing. The CX-70 is, for all intents and purposes, the CX-90, but just with the third row deleted. So what that means is the CX-70 is 2 rows and seats 5 passengers, instead of the CX-90, which is 3 rows and seats 8.
I think this makes an interesting proposition when it comes to how to sell this sucker. According to Mazda, it competes against the Jeep Grand Cherokee, Lexus RX, and the BMW X5, among others.
According to my bosses, the competitive set looks a little more like the Toyota Crown Signia, the Honda Passport, and hey, the Jeep Grand Cherokee. So at least there are some things that we can agree on. So the only thing to me that is a little bit of a conundrum is when I look at wheelbase. And the wheelbase on the CX-70 is significantly longer than it is on really any of those vehicles. So, does it matter?
When it comes to specs like cargo space, passenger space, driving and handling, wheelbase tends to mean a great deal. Cargo volume, for example, when you compare the CX-70 with all the competitors, those numbers are definitely on the high side, except surprisingly for the Honda Passport, which has so much cargo volume it's freakishly shocking. Yeah, I had to confirm those numbers twice.
But cargo volume shockers aside, this is really a first drive. And I gotta tell you, if the CX-70 drives anything like the CX-90, well, I already like it then.
Mazda are notorious for imbuing their vehicles with excellent handling and dynamic chops, and the CX-70 does not disappoint.
The 3.3-liter turbocharged inline-6 that powers the CX-70 is something that Mazda is frankly quite proud of, so much so that they use it twice in 2 different iterations. So you can get a standard powered one, which gets you 280 horsepower, 391 pound-feet of torque. Now, that may not sound like a ton, but it doesn't really sound super slouchy either.
If you upgrade to the Turbo S Premium or S Premium Plus, you will be delighted by 340 horses and 369 pound-feet of torque.
And delighted you will be. All of those cylinders lined up tidily in a row really do help deliver the power very linearly, very smoothly. Remember when I said that the wheelbase was a little longer, this was a little bit of a longer vehicle? My fear was that it would drive like a bigger car, but the fact of the matter is, I don't really feel that at all.
The turbo inline-6 gets aided by a 48-volt mild hybrid that acts as a torque fill, so when you're spooling up, there's less lag. No, it's not flawless, but what in life is? Am I right?
It's mated to an 8-speed automatic transmission, which I have a couple of nitpicks about. The first is, even in sport mode, I will say the transitions, the shifts are not as smooth as you would find in a German engineered car. The other thing is you do have paddle shifters here. If you want to downshift, then you can absolutely do that, or upshift. But the thing is after a while, the car sort of decides, oh, you're kind of done with that. You've revved a little bit higher than it's comfortable with. And so it just shoots you back into drive mode. So, you know, those are nitpicks because I have to find something that's not like superb and great, right?
Adding a note here, I spoke to an engineer and he told me that you can customize the car to delete that override. With no physical manual shift mode, this is the next best thing. Okay, one more thing, then I'll move on. I do not like how the shifter is set up. Reverse to get to park, yikes. However, that same trusted Mazda engineer, while telling me plenty of them don't like the park placement either, said that if you accidentally open the door in reverse, that will shift the car into park. So there is a safety there if you forget. Okay, I lied. One more thing the engineer guy told me. When you shift into sport mode, you do sacrifice some smoothness for quickness. So that addresses my other issue. No, we cannot have it all.
The steering on the CX-70 has been tweaked very slightly from the CX-90. It's lighter with less friction, so I guess that makes it a little bit easier to turn and to drive. I'm not sure that 100% you would notice it. What I do know, though, is that this honestly is a very easy car to drive and to steer. I actually like the weight of the steering. It's not too heavy, it's not too loosey-goosey. And really, if there are any corrections that are being made, most of those are because of my error, and it has nothing to do with kind of having to make a lot of adjustments here.
Around turns, Mazda does good things. The CX-70 feels stable, anchored, and capable of taking turns at speeds that might give you pause in some of the others in the competitive set. But I'm here to tell you that this is as good as it gets in the segment at this price point for handling and dynamics in a larger SUV. Full stop.
The CX-70 comes standard with all-wheel drive, but it is rear-wheel biased. So when you are just driving under normal conditions, really all of the torque goes to those rear wheels, which help make this feel like a sporty driver. When it comes to the ride, I'm actually very satisfied. It doesn't feel overly floaty, it doesn't feel overly firm and sporty. I think it strikes a really nice balance between the two, so you're able to engage in the kind of driving that you want to without being distracted by the road or feeling a lot of bumps as you go over things. Bottom line, this may be a larger mid-sized SUV, but it is still very fun to drive.
And that is what Mazda is counting on. The CX-70 is not just an amalgam of cup holders, storage, and distraction for kids.
So I'm not getting into the interior and all of the bells and whistles that you can get in here, but I will tell you, as I'm driving, the one thing I'm noticing is it is gorgeous in here. I've got this beautiful kind of Alcantara suede all over the dash. I have this lovely kind of brown tan leather. I have nice switchgear that makes fun little clicky noises. The seat is very comfortable as well as being very elegant and beautiful. My visibility is quite terrific. I don't have any complaints when it comes to what's going on inside this cabin, and I don't think you will either. Oh, maybe the way that you interact with the infotainment system.
The infotainment system does have one shining light. With Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, it does become a touchscreen. And honestly, a couple of weeks with Mazda's system, and I'd likely become the rabid fan that Mazda owners are as well.
Okay, so if I were to paint a picture of who buys this car, I would say they're probably an older couple. They are either child-free or they have older children, so they're not taking people to jiu-jitsu class and ballet lessons with all their friends. They're people who do stuff, so they garden, they hike, they antique shop, they are get-up-and-goers and doers, but they also love the driving experience as well. How'd I do, Mazda? That about right?
Pricing on the CX-70 starts at $41,910. To get the higher-powered turbo inline-6, you're looking at $53,995. For your money, you'll get amenities like power-adjusted seats, leather seat and steering wheel surfaces, second-row retractable shades, and wireless charging that all come standard.
You'll also get a lot of standard safety features that on premium brands will come at an extra cost. Yes, I am looking at you, BMW. One quick note about the lane centering assist. When I'm on a smaller road, I found that it really kind of pulled me a little too close to the center line on just like sort of a two-lane road. But now that I'm on the highway for a little bit, it's actually keeping me right in the center of this lane, and it works really smoothly. It's a great system.
Gosh, I haven't even mentioned the third powertrain. Yes, there's another option.
The CX-70 also comes as a plug-in hybrid. Combined power numbers on that, 323 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. You also are going to get 26 miles of pure electric range.
Compared to some others, that's not winning records, but with the average American driver only traveling 30 miles a day or less, it could easily get you everywhere you need and want to go without having to use an ounce of gas. Speaking of fuel economy, here are some numbers for you.
the PHEV is not DC fast charging capable. So what that means for charging is you can get from 20% to 80% in about an hour and a half using a level 2 charger. So it's likely that you're going to be charging overnight at home, or if you're off to the gym taking a Pilates class, you can plug into a charger there, and by the time you're out, you're going to be set to go.
Yes, it's heavier than the 3.3 liter. The inline 4 mated to the electric motor are, however, balanced by the battery under the second row. And because of that battery placement, it gets a lower center of gravity, always a good thing. While it does drive differently, regardless of the mode you're in, you can have fun by punching the sport mode button and letting it rip with all that instant torque. But you can still clock over 100 miles to the gallon if you're usually just driving around town, even though the mileage tracker will not register it because it does not go to 3 digits. It'll always say 99. If you're questioning alternative powertrains, rest assured they are delivering the goods, just like the CX-70 PHEV.
So for me, the CX-70 was a little bit of a mystery, wrapped in an enigma that's all bundled up in a cashmere shawl. But it's actually making a lot more sense now that I have been driving it. So if you are a person who loves a good spirited drive, loves to take the long way home over the canyons, you want to have a nice car, but you don't want to be car poor and spend an absolute fortune on it. You have stuff that you want to haul in the back, and it's not just people, but maybe it's things. Maybe it's a lovely credenza. Then honestly, the CX-70 is a car that is for you. I'm hoping that there are a lot of people out there that are like that, because this car is actually very worthy. And if you are one of those people, then you sound really interesting, and I think that we might be friends.